One of the fastest ways to wreck an e-commerce migration is not technology failure, it's human failure. Failure to agree on what actually matters. Before you write your first RFP or sign your first contract for an upcoming e-commerce replatform project, you need absolute clarity about what you must have to succeed. First, what is mission critical today? And second, what needs to be mission critical in the future for you to be competitive? Mission critical today includes the systems, processes, and experiences your customers and your teams rely on right now to drive revenue and ensure operational continuity. Future state mission critical focuses on new capabilities. You'll need to capture growth, outperform your competitors, and respond to market trends like AI. We've seen countless businesses stumble because they fail to define these categories early enough. They end up with delayed projects, missed goals, blown budgets, and worse, they select platforms and partners that can't deliver and will become a technical debt for the next several years. At Coalition, we require every migration client to build a sacred list of sorts. This list identifies in very specific terms the must-haves for a successful go-live and for long-term competitiveness. It includes technical requirements like integrations with an ERP system. It includes marketing requirements like maintaining SEO performance. It includes customer experience requirements like preserving key checkout customizations. Once this list is created, the next step is getting everyone on your team aligned around it. This is really a critical thing. Leadership needs to be involved, operations, marketing, development, finance. Everybody needs to know what's sacred to your organization, and everybody needs to defend it in every phase of the project. So often we see certain teams undercutting these sort of sacred things by introducing new scopes, by asking for deviations on those sort of most critical to have items, or delaying projects because they're trying to scope out some new thing along the way. A Coalition case study that highlights this whole concept well is our migration of Pink Lily Boutique from BigCommerce to Shopify Plus. Early on, we identified that the most mission-critical feature for them was the ability to rapidly publish and merchandise new arrivals with minimal downtime and SEO impact. We prioritize their catalog workflow and site indexing strategies ahead of nice-to-have site enhancements. As a result, they saw only a 2% dip in traffic post-migration, one of the best outcomes we've seen for a large, well-established SEO'd site, and they regained their full traffic within 45 days. Change everything at once, and you risk losing everything at once. When it comes to e-commerce migrations, faster is not always better, and bigger changes are definitely not always better. Preserve as much as you can during the initial move. One of the biggest mistakes businesses make during a platform migration is trying to do too much at once. A redesign, a rebrand, a new content strategy, a new feature set, all at once during the migration. At Coalition, we always recommend an approach we call minimal disruption migration, or MDM. We lose the A at the end. The goal is simple. Keep your URL structure intact wherever possible. Maintain your theme or your brand styling closely. Retain your content hierarchy and key messaging. This does a couple of different things for you. First, it makes it easier for Google to adjust to your new platform and whatever theme changes had to be made. We've seen sites lose up to 40% of organic traffic post-migration when they've ignored this with other vendors, versus under 10% with a minimal disruption strategy that we used. Second, it isolates change. If something does go wrong after launch, like a drop in conversion rate, a spike in bounce rate, a decline in support satisfaction, or just problems on the back end of operating your store, you can quickly determine if the new platform is the issue rather than guessing between these 5 overlapping things. A really good case study again is Pink Lily Boutique, who we helped migrate from BigCommerce to Shopify Plus. They had ambitious goals for content and branding, but prioritized SEO and merchandising continuity in the move. We preserved core templates, category structure, and merchandising features as closely as possible, while still modernizing the overall experience for them and for their customers. that helped us navigate this change with a minor dip in traffic post-launch and a full recovery within a month and a half. But because their rankings, revenue, marketing strategies, and everything else were already protected, it allowed them to do so with confidence. This approach also helps your internal teams. Customer support, fulfillment, and marketing are all adjusting to platform-level changes when you make these big moves. Keeping the user experience familiar makes the learning curve much gentler. It also allows them to be a better value in testing for your new implementations and spotting those little hidden gotchas which can exist in a big replatform project. If you're planning a migration, resist the urge to overhaul everything at once. Start with a stable, minimal disruption, and then begin to look at bigger innovations once the foundation is in place. I often use the analogy of someone showing up on a Monday morning with not only a whole new fashion wardrobe, but also a massive face tattoo with a lot of extra piercings that they didn't have on Friday. That sort of change can cause someone who has worked with that individual for years to have concerns. The same thing happens when you push massive changes to Google in a short period of time. Controlling those and incrementing them over time allows you to reach the same destination without those significant steps back in trust. Now, let's talk about how to actually choose the right partners and platforms to carry those priorities forward, and how to avoid being sold something you don't need or frankly can't use. A strong e-commerce migration begins with a really good RFP, or request for proposal. Your RFP should start where part 1 left off, with your sacred list. Spell out in concrete terms the features, workflows, data handling, customer experiences, and marketing requirements you cannot afford to compromise on. Don't just ask, do you support ERP integration with X? Ask instead, how will your team ensure a real-time integration between Shopify and NetSuite for order fulfillment, including custom field mapping and exception handling is in place? Always ask for references. Ask to speak with merchants they've migrated who had similar priorities, systems, or challenges. Ask those references what went right and what went wrong. Was the vendor responsive post-launch? Were timelines met? Did the features and functionalities that they asked for get actually delivered? Were they as expected? Did their SEO or performance and marketing tank as a result of a move? Also, and this is often overlooked, talk to third-party app providers in the ecosystem you're considering. A lot of times as an agency, we find that ourselves and the actual technical platforms or CMSs do most of the talking, and app providers are sort of left behind the scenes, even if they are going to be a required set of functionality or a major cost. For example, if you're moving to Shopify Plus and planning on using Klaviyo or Rebuy or Recharge, talk to those teams. If you're looking for an enhanced search platform, make sure you're talking to the specific ones recommended by your agency. If you're concerned about fraud detection and prevention, talk to that vendor. Each of these can be significant costs, and again, maybe one of those sacred priorities for your particular business. Talking to them will give you a clear read on how well the platform or agency you're considering actually supports your advanced use cases. If you can't be shown a site that's been built the way that you want it to be built with an existing merchant, look for a specific demo that is reflective of your business prepared beforehand. If your partner and your tech platform aren't willing to do that for you, consider signing up for a smaller discovery project where additional documentation and demonstrations can be made. For example, if catalog management is mission critical for you, have your vendors show you what it looks like to merchandise 50 new products in a day, and push all of those through channels similar to yours. If marketing attribution is important, ask them to demonstrate native reporting capabilities and integrations that you use already or anticipate using as part of your project. Once you're mid-process, start to revisit the sacred list again. Platforms and vendors will often reveal limitations once the whole ecosystem is taking shape. You may find that an integration you were promised doesn't work the way you were expected, or perhaps doesn't actually work with other pieces of your end result. You might find an app, for instance, that works really well for individual promotions, but doesn't tie into the checkout enhancements that you're actually planning on using. Finally, be clear on what you're expected to do. One of the biggest gaps in migrations is an unclear division of labor. Who is importing product data? Who is responsible for rewriting URLs or putting in place redirects? Who validates taxes, shipping, or payment gateway rules? Put those roles and responsibilities in writing. Your RFP should specify where the vendor is expected to lead, where they're expected to support, and where your team must carry the load. If you skip this step, you'll often find yourself cleaning up expensive messes that no one budgeted for. A Coalition client we helped in this process, a large specialty parts retailer, originally engaged 2 different agencies before us. Both of them overpromised and underdelivered. When we came in, we started by helping them rebuild their RFP in a free discovery call. We reevaluated their apps, their integrations, and platform expectations. We then demoed real scenarios that led to them understanding their product, checkout, and customer flows in a much more accurate way than what they've already seen as a result of half-completed projects. That clarity allowed the project to get back on track and ultimately deliver the performance they had originally hoped for. If you're in the vendor selection phase, don't settle for sales materials. Build a strong RFP tied to what your business truly needs. Ask better questions, push for proof, not promises. And if you need help navigating that process or want to work with an experienced agency partner, Coalition Technologies has led hundreds of successful migrations, and we'd be glad to support yours.